Okay, and the other one just doesn't say that at all. It's just 50 tons, and then it was 104.43.
Correct.
Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Any other comments from council members? Mr. Pelikowski, real quick. I think your question there already answered this, but that is the purpose. I was a little confused of why are we stating per ton versus the time frame? And I was curious if the contract more heavily relied on the quantity or the time frame purpose.
Well, I don't know if you recall, but a couple of years ago, we had a low bidder contract. The price of oil went up. The contractor at that time defaulted on delivering material to us because they would not honor the lower price. We had an issue with that. I don't know what happened legally with that, but that was like in 2008. We then had to scramble to find material to bring in here, and that was one of the primary issues we had. So we want to protect ourselves so that can't happen again.
Okay, so in this case, we're committing to the quantity first and then locking that price for 1 year.
We're locking that price until we use that material.
Okay, and that really was the follow-up question to that, because by us stating 1 year, I mean, I understand the estimates that were given, the total of 1,200 tons. What happens within that 1 year? I don't know when that clock starts ticking, if it's once this is approved or whatever, but once that 1 year mark is met, if for some reason we have not hit 1,200 tons, are they able to renegotiate the price?
That material be ours until we use the 1,200 tons.
Even if it extends beyond the 1 year?
Correct.
Very good. And last question, are we capable of storing it on our own property?
We have limited storage, and we have to be careful because our storage is outside, and if we let it weather, the material will, dry out, and we'll lose the compactability of it. So we have limited storage capability on our site.
Have we dealt with these people in the past?
Yes, we have.
Okay, and no delivery problems?
We have very good luck with this particular company, Ajax.
Okay, thank you very much for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
With that, I'll call the question. Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Mr. Liss?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Ms. Comartin?
Yes.
Mr. Bacamino?
Yes.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Ms. Vogt?
Yes.
Camp, yes. The motion passed unanimously.
13E, request of the Fire Department for approval to purchase one 2011 four-wheel drive, three-quarter-ton Chevy Suburban through the Oakland County Cooperative Vehicle Bid Program number 3005 from Berger Chevrolet Incorporated in the amount of $37,069, Oak-W-8384, upon approval, payment to be made within 10 days of delivery to the recommended vendor.
Need a motion and support?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Sadowski.
Support.
Support by Mr. Green. Discussion. Mr. McAdams? Good evening.
Good evening, Council.
Thank you for being here. I just have two quick questions. I'm a little confused on which budget this will be out of, being that the final comment on the letter request says funds are available in the current 2011-2012 budget.
Typo on my part, 2010, 2011.
Okay, and actually you can credit that to Mr. Treppa. He's the one that signed. That's one thing that I wanted to know. So, because that in turn was my second question in regards to if this wasn't coming out until the new budget is in place, then when would actually delivery be?
No, it's coming out of the current budget, and we expect delivery just before the end of the fiscal year.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any other questions from council members?
Madam Chair?
Ms. Comartin?
Thank you. Secondly, we talked about payment being within 10 days on this, but in the resolution, excuse me, that's not incorporated. So we might want to make sure that that is incorporated in the resolution because it is not reflected in the current one that we have attached. Secondly, they talked about a warranty. How long were we looking at for the warranty? on the vehicle?
Just the standard manufacturer's warranty, after which we will be responsible for our maintenance and repair after the warranty expires.
All right, and then in consideration with this one, I know we talked about using the businesses that we have in our community. Did we also check the pricing on Chrysler? Chrysler has a truck plant in Warren, and, you know, did we do a comparison between Chrysler and General Motors? Because those are built right here in Warren.
In conducting our research, we utilize Oakland County Consortium, which has an established pricing mechanism for all vehicles, and therefore within their pricing system, we were able to pick out the vehicle that best met the needs for our department, and we chose the Chevy Suburban due to its size and versatility.
Okay, so basically you checked into the Chryslers and they didn't fit the
Dodges.
criteria? The Dodges,
Yes.
yeah. The Dodges, they didn't fit the criteria that you were looking at.
Correct, and also we were a little concerned in that the Dodge vehicle is a brand-new vehicle, and we just wanted to give them a year.
Okay, and then when we were talking about the account number on the back, do you know how much funds are left in that
In
account?
our capital expenditure, offhand, no, I don't, ma'am. But I know that there are sufficient funds within that account to support this purchase.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Did all members of the RFP agree on this? Yes. Yes, thank you. All right, with that, I'll go ahead and call the question. Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Ms. Comartin?
Yes.
Mr. Bacamino?
Yes.
Mr. Liss?
No.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Ms. Vogt?
Yes.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Camp, yes. The motion passed, 8-1.
Thank you, council.
Next agenda item is 13F, notice of appointment and request to confirm the reappointment of David G. Spencer to the Downtown Development Authority for a term of office to expire May 31st, 2015. Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Sadowski, support by Mr. Stevens. Any discussion?
Madam Chair?
Mr. Sadowski?
I believe Mr. Spencer is the General Motors representative to the DDA. Mr. Liss is shaking his head yes.
Either that or he's got a funky email.
Very good.
All right, with that, I'll call the question. Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Ms. Vogt?
Yes.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Mr. Liss?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Ms. Comartin?
Yes.
Mr. Bacamino?
Yes.
Camp, yes. The motion passed unanimously.
13G, consideration and adoption of a resolution authorizing exemption to Village Stinson Post 9021 VFW of USA INC to allow the sale and consumption of beer on the premises at City Square Park during the Salute to Vietnam Veterans event on May 21st, 2011.
Motion to approve. Support.
Motion by Mr. Green, support by Mr. Stevens. Any discussion? Go ahead and call the question. Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Ms. Vogt?
Yes.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Mr. Liss?
Yes.
Ms. Comartin?
Yes.
Mr. Bacamino?
Yes.
Camp, no. The item passed 8-1.
Next agenda item is 13H, which was 4C on the consent agenda. Consideration and adoption of a resolution confirming SAR number 369, in Ray, abatement of nuisance at 8030 Chalmers, $2,092.50. One date, first installment shall be due July 1st, 2012. Two date, the subsequent installment shall be due each July 1st thereafter. 3, date when interest shall commence August 1st, 2012. Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Sadowski, support by Mr. Liss.
Madam-
Discussion, Ms. Comartin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I pulled this off the consent agenda just because there were some details that were in and on our agenda, but the interest rate is not covered on here. Is there anybody from the building department that does know or is here? Nope. This is totally blank. Through the chair to the city attorney, are you, Mr. Burnett, do you know what the interest rate is that's going to be charged on this? Okay. It's blank, so I probably will not support this as being blank. So whatever council's action is, go ahead. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, any other discussion from council members?
No one else is here.
Go ahead and call the question. Mr. Sadowski.
Yes.
Mr. Liss?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Ms. Comartin?
No.
Mr. Bacamino?
No.
Mr. Warner?
No.
Ms. Vogt?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
No.
Camp, no. 2, 3, 4, 5. The item failed 5-4.
Next agenda item is number 15, audience participation.
Our first speaker this evening is Tony Police. I believe he may have gone home for the evening. Our next speaker is Ken Hartwell.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
I have several things I gotta say, but I only got one on my mind right now. 5 years ago, I was allowed to get a scrappy license in the city of Warren. Okay? Had no problem. I got out of business. I got back in, and a friend of mine went to, signed up for a scrappy license for me, and they tell me, I can't get one this year, that I don't meet the criteria. Okay? So I asked what the criteria was. And Officer Jim Kovac told me that I would have to call Sergeant Chad Richardson to get the criteria. I call Sergeant Chad Richardson. Officer Chad Richardson calls me back and says, I don't know what you're talking about. You'll have to call Lynn Martin from the building department. Now, what does the building department have to do with a scrapping license? And the reason I've gone as far is because Officer Richardson told me that I would have to appeal it with the mayor. You know, and I says, well, how do I appeal something if I don't, if I don't have the criteria? In other words, it's like the law. If you're sentenced to court, sentenced to jail for a crime, you have the right to appeal that. But you have to know the law to appeal it. But if I can't get the criteria, how am I going to appeal it? He says, well, go to the mayor. Well, so see that wall there? I might as well tell the mayor, because it's going to take that long. Might as well tell that wall to move, because that wall will move faster than the mayor. So then he said I had another choice, to come to the city council meeting to try to get the criteria on how do I go about appealing why I can't get a scrapper's license. Now, in 2005, I had 3 of them in my name. 2006, I had 2 of them in my name. 2007, I stopped. The reason I stopped scrapping in the city of Warren is because I was paying the city of Warren a license fee to scrap in the city of Warren. Okay? But yet at the same time,